just have a question for Matthew. What is the situation if you change your job from Group 2 to a manual job, that is, operator in mining? What has to happen, and is it difficult to do with your Christian Super? So I think it's changing types of jobs which would then change your group. What's the process there?
I believe Christian Super would have a form that the member would need to complete, so that they would, it's probably available on the website. I'm not entirely sure, but just from my experience dealing with other funds, there should be a form in which the member can download and can complete that, and then send that through to Christian Super, and they'll look after making any types of adjustments.
Sure.
So it might be worthwhile contacting Christian Super on their helpline.
Call the 1300 number. I think it's 1300 360 907. They get them to send out the forms there for you. Yeah, great. I have a follow-up question from Matthew just relating to the change of grouping. He said, thanks for that. I'm wondering if this change scenario from different groups is a common occurrence, or is it barriered? That is, does this change involve lots and lots of paperwork and processing and further similar and further underwriting? Is the changing of group an arduous process?
Is it a common premium payable for everybody regardless of occupation, or is it simply links to AEL, the grouping?
For the income protection, there is a loading on those rates. So there was a screen that Gavin showed up before, which had the cost per $100 weekly benefit or per unit of cover. Now there is a loading. I believe if you're a white collar or a Class 2 employee, then it's just one times that. Yep.
Oh, yeah,
so if you move from a Class 2 employee or a white collar and you engage in say a skilled technician type role, which is light blue, which would be Group 3, then technically your premiums would double. The factor would become 2.02 as opposed to the one time.
But it shouldn't undergo further underwriting though. You should just change the cost of the...
No, it simply should be not a medical underwriting, but more of a, providing it's not an excluded occupation that's deemed to be hazardous, then really it's a change of the premium for that increased risk or decreased risk, depending on where you're going. Really what the fund and Hanover is trying to do is ensure that we're getting the appropriate premium for the risk of the employee in the occupation they're performing.
So if there's no other changes, really there shouldn't be too much difficulty in going from one group to the other if it's only changing the occupation, as long as it's not a really risky one like parachutist or something like that.
Usually drill and blast, explosive workers, that sort of stuff, there may be risks. Obviously you're teaching people to parachute jump, that sort of thing.
Yep.
And the fund would be able to provide a list of excluded occupations that's covered off in the policy document.
Yeah.
Again, just to contact the service centre at Christian Super.
Yeah, but just to answer Matt's question, there is no underwriting or there's no questions that you would need to complete. It's just that you would need to provide Christian Super with the title of your occupation and possibly some of your occupation duties, just so that they can ensure that they put you in the correct class, the occupation class, so that you're paying an appropriate premium for the risk associated with your occupation.
And I guess the other side of that question is, what happens if you don't change occupational grouping and you end up triggering a claim and your occupation is now a Group 2 occupation, whereas you were actually insured for a Group 1? What happens there in terms of the claim? You might not get its potential.
I believe that we would, in that case, we would reserve the right to reduce the benefit we would pay by, I guess, the shortfall in premium that the person had been paying. So if they hadn't advised the fund that they, say they had advised the fund that they were a white collar professional, Class 1 or a Class 2, but then in the event of a claim that they were working at a mine, for instance, then we would reserve the right to reduce the benefit by the understated premium that we had been receiving.
Yes, okay.
So it would probably be up to our discretion as to how we calculate the benefit.